From a culture perspective, we know that innovation succeeds when people feel safe to ask better questions, challenge defaults, and experiment without fear. But on the problem side, we see that culture still shuts ideas down. So what I've deemed as a psychological safety crisis, in that only 1 in 10 leaders feel safe sharing half-baked ideas in their organisation. We've got blame culture persisting through a number of organisations, with only 20% or 2 in 10 leaders saying that failure is always treated as learning. The rest see it as blame. So 80% of the time, if something fails, organisations look for someone to blame rather than treat it as a learning. So that you can see how that doesn't necessarily invite a conducive environment or a conducive culture that rewards experimentation, curiosity, creativity, all of those things. And the other thing is that progress often goes unnoticed, with 90% of leaders saying that progress is celebrated only sometimes. So there's a fine line between innovation and real innovation and innovation theatre, and I'm well aware of that. But what we're seeing is more and more often that innovation wins. Some of the small wins aren't being shared enough, and that becomes our own worst enemy. If we're not sharing progress, if we're not showing that what we are doing is we're having an impact, we're making progress, we've got to celebrate those wins. If we're not doing that and we're not celebrating that with a wider audience, then they just assume that we're slow and we're not getting any momentum. And again, I've been through this time and time again. I've gone through oversharing times, I've gone through undersharing times, and have seen the impact that it can have on the wider culture and how you're perceived when you're trying to move things and get things done in an organisation. So I've got 3 bits of advice here to make curiosity visible. The first, and these are just sort of tactical initiatives, is learning rounds. Kick off an opportunity to kick off your team meetings with what have we learned? What have we learned this week? What have we learned this fortnight? What have we learned in the last 24 hours? And ask for 1 insight per person, not just project updates. Let's get away from just the dry updates. It's like, what have we learned? Let's move to that safe environment where people feel safe going, hey, what I learned from this. And it suddenly becomes around, it's okay to fail. It's okay to hide. It's not okay to hide what we've learned if it's come from a less than desirable outcome from what we didn't expect. So this normalises learning and curiosity. Failure Share Friday. Run a Failure Share Friday. Invite 1 short story of something that didn't work and what was learned. So you can model it yourself as a leader. Again, just being vulnerable and making sure people feel completely safe, creating an environment where there's no consequence or negative consequence on them sharing failures, because failures happen to us all the time, every day. Doesn't have to be material, but again, it's about creating that environment where people feel psychologically safe to share failure and celebrate it as a learning more so than be punished for it. And again, largely a language one is, let's talk about testing rather than proving. Quite often we will hear this culture of around, we've got a hypothesis, okay, let's prove it. Let's prove it. And let's write a business case and let's spend lots of time with lots of people putting really big slide decks together. Let's reframe that to testing it. Okay, I love that hypothesis. Let's test it. How do we test that? We believe that is a really, really great way to introduce a hypothesis. And then it's very easy to experiment and design experiments, really low-fi experiments on how you can test that. So move away from the large businesses case to testing over proving. A really useful framework here, and I've actually got a framework here for each of these compass points that is hopefully useful for you to, you'll have access to them at the end to be able to download all of them and use them in your day-to-day operations. An activity prioritization matrix, which essentially is an opportunity for, it's a sort of 2x2 matrix with a couple of different overlays based on size and color, where you can look at any idea, any initiative, whatever it may be, any feature through sort of 4 lenses. So 1 is desirability, 2 is viability, 3 is feasibility, and 4 is linked to strategy and purpose. And you can easily kind of sort of, even if it's finger in the air sort of stuff, assess ideas, and it adds some level of objectivity to help you prioritize initiatives. So say you've got everyone in this room came together with an idea to solve a particular problem. You give everyone the space to be able to sort of share their idea You can use this matrix. You can use it in a far more considered way as well. I've done that with a lot of organizations, but it's a sort of quick way to sort of, I guess, litmus test ideas or understand where the hypotheses are or the learning gaps are where you need to, where you do need to test. So if you don't know anything about the feasibility for it, that's something that you might design an experiment for to see if you can then assess it effectively. Okay, so just an example of a piece of work that I've done in the past that sort of has helped move the culture in the right direction for a team. So this is a number of years ago for a large insurer. I was leading a customer communications team. And what I found is through my one-on-ones with my staff, it was a team of 12 people. We had a hugely respected, a hugely experienced team. We had over 350 years of experience, combined experience across the team. So very much a legacy team. A lot of people had been there over 25 years at the organization, pretty much doing the same role. But we were very much a responsive, a reactive team. We weren't necessarily proactive. We weren't necessarily innovative or forward thinking. We were a service-based team. So we kind of just relied on people coming us to get things done. But what I found is that through my one-on-ones with my teammates and team members is that there was all these kind of bugbears, all of these pain points that existed that we knew were impacting our productivity and our output and our throughput as a team. So I created this open forum. It was just a 1 hour team meeting where we were each given a sheet, a blank sheet, and basically we each had to write what is the biggest thing that's pissing us off at the moment, right? What is one thing that's really annoying me in my work day to day? And it can be as simple as, I don't like getting CC'd on all these emails because it's a distraction for me, because it takes up time, it's context switching, it's something really simple. Or it could be that I have trouble getting to work every day for whatever reason it is, because I've got to drop the kids at school or whatever it is. It can be anything. And the idea was to, I guess, surface those problems and create an environment where people feel safe sharing those problems. Everyone wrote down their problem on a sheet. And then we worked in a room together and everyone passed everyone's sheet around to everyone else in the team, and everyone had the opportunity to contribute and share a thought around how they might help solve that problem, what they would do to help address the issue that the person is facing. Now, off the back of that, everyone in the room was given the opportunity to share some of those or to discuss those. The idea was just they could take it away, feel safe, use it for whatever reason they wanted. But as a result, they had essentially 11 new ideas or different ways to tackle a challenge that they're probably not getting to day to day, because it's just something that annoys them. It's something that just they treat as their BAU, as their MO, and it just becomes frustrating. So I guess off the back of that, look, the outcomes were that we did see some quick wins implemented from members across the team. We actually had some team-based initiatives as well that we worked on to get a productivity uplift. We received positive feedback and we started running it quarterly. So we ran it as an experiment, very low risk, 1 hour of people's time. It became a quarterly initiative that we then used for people and then kind of rolled out across other problem areas across the team as well. So as a result, we sort of uplifted the culture of curiosity, collaboration, and innovation as well. So we started the move from a reactive, responsive team to being a bit more forward-thinking, proactive, and innovative team. That's 350 years plus of experience. So you can't shift that overnight, but this was getting us directionally correct.